Regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. Today is Wednesday, June 26th, and we're glad you joined us here this evening. We'll begin with an invocation. We'll begin with calling the meeting to order, and an invocation by Reverend Victoria Bass from St. Paul's Episcopal Church. Reverend Bass.
Please join me in prayer and for a time of reflection. God of compassion, justice, and love, as we gather this night, help us to be mindful of your example to serve others before ourselves. Many, if not all here, have committed to serving the town of Kernersville, here and those outside of its limits, and we hope they are all advocates for positive change that benefit the masses. In the abundance of your mercy, we seek your wisdom for the courage to be agents of change and growth within our own lives and to keep a thankful awareness of all the blessings in our lives each day. We pray for our families, our friends and neighbors, for those with whom we work and learn and play, for the sick and frightened, for the grieving, the desperate and angry, for those sick, homeless, hungry, and poor. Empower and encourage us all, gracious Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Bass. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. It is always a great honor and privilege to recognize outstanding occasions, outstanding individuals, and special causes with a proclamation to declare a day, a special day, or a special month or special week. And this meeting is no exception. Today we get to celebrate and proclaim July 2024 as Parks and Recreation Month. And to that end, I'll have our Parks and Rec Director, Ernie Pages, come forward for a presentation. You know, there's a lot of things, Ernie, that can be said about parks, but I think one of the things that is most apparent is you think about the natural environment and you think about the programming, the activities, and the sports. But I feel like Kernersville is doing a very good job of that passive recreation, a cool place to walk. Our parks, 4th of July Park especially, has an abundance of trees, and to have an abundance of trees takes a lot of proper maintenance and care to keep them healthy and to keep the paths clear and to make it an inviting environment to walk. But one of the things that Kernersville has done really well also is looking after the natural environment. In another department that also works closely with Parks and Rec, we have a stormwater division, and they're working to restore a stream that's adjacent to one of the parks. It's at the Ivy Redmond Park, and it's part of Abbott's Creek Basin. And some natural areas there which have drawn the dragonflies and the tadpoles and the salamanders and all kinds of great things back to the Kernersville area. So it's a great place for children to play in the natural areas, and it's good for our environment and for animal habitat as well. One of the other things that Kernersville Parks and Rec has done very well is paid attention to therapeutic recreation services for individuals with especially sensory disabilities. Lots of challenger leagues and special programs that anyone can participate in, but are especially appropriate and help people with the sensory issues. So to increase the mental and emotional health of all citizens. So our parks do many more things than is apparent, or maybe many more things than Parks and Rec did 30 years ago. And Ernie, you're a large part of that, making things happen and bringing new ideas to Kernersville, and we really, really appreciate it. So as Mayor of Kernersville, and on behalf of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen, it's my honor to proclaim July 2024 as Parks and Recreation Month in the town of Kernersville. Thank you, Ernie.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So, just to say thank you and kind of elaborate to what the mayor did say, We do have an adaptive division. Many years ago, we didn't have summer camp, and now we do. And we've been able to incorporate a lot of children that have are living with disabilities into our camp. We have now adaptive sports. We have inclusive sports. We've done quite a bit with that. Even reaching out with some of our seniors when the building opens up soon to incorporate some of the baby boomer generations into, kind of service with their needs as well. So usually we do a big celebration in July to celebrate the month, but we have quite a bit going on right now with the building. We have a master plan coming up. We'll be presenting pretty soon to the board for adoption. We've got grants going on, so we're really busy. We have improvements at 4th of July Park. Our skate park is renovated. We have renovations of walking trails. We have our swing base. No pool coming up, right? Make sure I got
For those who didn't hear, Ernie said, and we have a pool coming up. Just want to make sure to mention that. Ernie, have we finished, have we collected enough surveys for the plan?
We did. We've got enough. We've got, received a draft today, some review the draft, and then we'll build off recommendations. We're ready to go, bring to you around October.
Super, thank you. And he just said we'd be seeing that in October, that they have enough surveys and they're working on a draft of the plan. So we look forward to that, Ernie. Thank you. All right, moving on to the business of the day. We do have a public hearing. Our public hearing process is pretty familiar to everyone in the room, but I'll briefly review it. It's printed on the agenda and it's displayed on the screen. For a public hearing, persons attending shall be permitted to address the Board of Aldermen regarding the item under consideration. Those speaking in favor speaking first, and then those against speaking second. Proponents and opponents shall each be given 20 minutes of time to speak, and there is provision for rebuttal if necessary. So with that policy in place, I'll introduce the first agenda item, 1A, public hearing on a voluntary contiguous annexation petition by CMC Jomanda Holdings, LLC, for property located at 1069 North Main Street containing 23.75 acres, more or less. Ms. Garner?
Good evening, Madam Mayor. This is an annexation request for the Holt Environments project that is currently under construction on North Main Street. It is in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, and a condition of the rezoning that was approved by this board a year or so ago was that they would annex when they got building permits.
Okay, this is a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Do I have a motion by the board?
I would move we accept the annexation petition in item A for public hearing, A1.
Okay, motion to approve by Alderman Bill Apple. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Penix. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, we are to the public session. Our first item is speakers from the floor. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board as to an item not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to a presentation regarding the Paul J. Senior Botanical Garden. Not sure we can hear you, Ernie.
Am I on now? Oh, excellent. All right. I'm here representing the Garden Foundation. David and Greg Sr. couldn't make it today. This presentation, I don't have any pictures or anything, but the foundation board of the garden is requesting permission to install a green emerald or emerald marble lotus fountain at the end of the pattern garden walk at the garden. Our last meeting, they approved a $70,000 expenditure from from their funds to install the fountain. And at the end, they're going to turn around and gift it to the town as part of a capital development project for the garden itself. So it's, they just want to come and ask for permission to proceed with their project.
All right, so does the board have any questions?
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to ask Mr. Powell if, by serving on that foundation board by appointment from the mayor, does that create any type of conflict in our participating in discussion about the request of the Senior Garden Foundation? We serve on that foundation board by appointment. I think Mr. Penix and I do. And just want to be sure that we're okay to.
I think when we took ownership, we provided that members of the board would also be members of the Board of Aldermen would also be members of that board.
We did.
So there's no problem.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to get that.
As long as you don't gain any financial interest from it, and I feel certain you won't.
Mayor, I would like to move that we accept their request.
Okay, I've got a motion from Alderman Penix,
I'd second, Madam Mayor.
second from Alderman Apple. All in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. All right, item C, consideration of a resolution authorizing a public notice for sale and removal of a structure located at 1223 Union Cross Road.
Yeah, Madam Mayor and Board, this is the small white house. As you go down Union Cross Road going south, just beyond the new Parks and Recreation building. It was on the property that the board purchased from Andrew Coney. We have no need for the house. We would just tear it down. We've been approached by an individual that would like to purchase the house and move it. Mainly the cost is in moving the house. So he's proposed the amount of $100, which basically covers the advertising to advertise it, that it's being sold and moved. So if the board so chooses, you can adopt this resolution. It will then stay open. Is it 10 days?
Yes, this resolution will approve the advertisement, and then 10 days after the advertisement appears in the paper, which would happen to be the July 9th meeting, then you can vote on another resolution to actually approve the sale.
Yep. And if nobody upsets it, this individual will be the one responsible. We'll draft a contract specifying the time frame to move it off the property and so forth.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we authorize the public notice for sale and removal of structure pursuant to item subparagraph C.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Apple,
I'd second.
second by Alderman Darrow. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, next item is D, discussion and consideration of funding support for the ATHP grant for the Piedmont Greenway. Mr. Swisher?
Yeah, this is, the Piedmont Greenway is one that eventually will connect the greenways in Winston-Salem and Greensboro, and there's a portion of that that runs from downtown Kernersville to Trad Park. Some of you may be familiar with the passage under Grayland Street. When Grayland Street was constructed, there was a tunnel put under that will connect this greenway. So the Piedmont Trad Regional Council is putting together a grant application to receive possibly some grant funding for the study of the greenway, to design it and study it. I think it's a total of about or it's actually about $500,000, I believe, for the study. Is that right? Somewhere in there. So they were asking Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and Kernersville to contribute toward that. Obviously, we're not recommending the biggest bulk of that. We're recommending $20,000 contribution, which we have currently in the professional services and community development and engineering. And that will design that section there that picks up the Kernersville portion of it. Yeah, and our contribution is conditional upon the grant being awarded to PTRC for that. If they can ever get it done, it'll be a great greenway. It will pick up somewhere around Friendly Avenue, and then from Friendly, it goes all the way over to downtown Greensboro, and then it'll pick up Salem Lake and head that way. So.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'd make a motion, Madam Mayor, to accept the support for the ATIP grant.
All right, so to approve a letter of support and to pledge the contribution. And Mr. Swisher, when is this letter going to be written, or have you already written it?
I think it's been drafted. I don't know if they've finalized the draft, but I think it will go out probably, is it later this week, Monday of next week? So it'll be soon. The PTRC is drafting the letters, and they've got it drafted. I don't know that they've finalized it. They were waiting probably to see if you all did concur with supporting it.
Oh, to have our signature on the letter?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
A second by Alderman Apple. The motion was by Alderman Barrow. Second by Alderman Apple. Okay, all in favor? It's unanimous. All right, the next item is a budget amendment, number 10. Mr. Swisher?
I promise this will be the last one for this fiscal year, primarily because that's the last meeting for this fiscal year. And it is the shortest one, I do believe. It's only 3 items for expenditures and looks like maybe 2 for revenue. Basically, we have governing body from outside legal expenses. That was involving the BOMA lawsuit, administration department for an additional employee training fees. And then IT, we had some additional expenses for some cabling for a grant project we received. And there's no change to the fund balance. We had an increase in revenue with investment interest earned on our investments. So that offset the extra expenses.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the budget amendment number 10?
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Apple, second by Alderman Penix. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, item F is consideration of a resolution for a notice of intent to reimburse for the purchase of general improvement projects.
These are the 3 projects that were approved in the upcoming budget for 24-25. It's the police admin office suite renovation, bay roof replacement at Station 41, and the irrigation system at Paul J. Senior Botanical Garden. All this is if we spend any money on these before we get the loan, then we can reimburse ourselves. We're required by law to have this resolution in place to be able to reimburse ourselves.
Do I have a motion to approve the notice of intent to reimburse?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Penix, second. Second by Mr. Barrow. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, item G, which is similar, a notice of intent to reimburse for the purchase of equipment. Mr. Swisher.
It is very similar in the fact that it's basically the same resolution except for it is for the equipment. And the reason we're doing this is if a piece of equipment becomes available right away before we have gotten the loan, we can go ahead and purchase it while it's available. As you all know, it's pretty tough right now finding some vehicles. So if there are some out there, we can go ahead and purchase them and then reimburse ourselves.
All right, I have a motion to approve by Alderman Penix, second.
Second.
Second, Alderman Apple. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, item H, consideration of a resolution authorizing a local government commission application regarding a financing contract for the purchase of general improvement projects. Mr. Swisher.
This is for the 3 projects I just mentioned. We're required to go to the LGC for approval for those. This resolution authorizes us to submit that application.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Apple. Second by Alderman Barrow. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, that takes us to item I, consideration of a resolution declaring property surplus and authorizing disposal. Mr. Swisher?
We've seen several of these through the years. This is our surplus property. We're asking the board to declare it surplus, and then we will dispose of it through an auction or another method.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
Got a motion by Alderman Penix,
That's second.
second by Alderman Barrow. All those in favor? It's unanimous. All right. So we are to the briefing on the July 9th meeting agenda. All right, Ms. Garner, if you could go through the public hearings.
Madam Mayor, items 1A and 1B are tied together. The first is a Kernersville Development Plan amendment to the land use plan. The second is the rezoning. This was heard at the June Planning Board meeting, and both items were recommended for denial by Planning Board. The second set also go together, items 1C and 1D, the first being the amendment to the Kernersville Development Plan and then the associated rezoning. These items were also heard at the June Planning Board meeting, and both were recommended for approval by Planning Board. Items E and F also go together. E is an annexation, and F is a rezoning for additional acreage at Weldon. Item E is not heard at Planning Board, but item F was heard at June Planning Board, and it was recommended for approval as well.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the public hearings or the zoning cases?
Excuse me, will item E be heard by the planning board before our July meeting or?
Planning Board doesn't hear annexation cases, only the aldermen do.
Okay,
So you
okay.
set the hearing at the last meeting in anticipation of this.
Got you, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? It's a very reasonable question, Mr. Apple. All right, we are in the public session. Nope, that will be the public session will be next, and then we'll do the resolution, as Mr. Hooker had mentioned, of the house on Union Cross Road. And then, Mr. Swisher, discussion and consideration of details for the Big Mill Farm Road interchange. Have you all worked out a list yet?
We have, and we should have that uploaded and to the board in time for the July 9th meeting. We've gotten some more maps that we needed from NCDOT showing where the fencing that they would recommend or the fencing that they would put there. And then we have to go back through and make recommendations to the board, if any, to upgrade the type fencing. So we should have that done. We've got all of it done except for the fencing. So once we add that part, we should be ready to go.
Could you give us a general preview? If you've worked out any recommendations you would make as to what this is we're going to be looking at being asked to approve?
I didn't hear the first part of that.
Could you go ahead and tell us about some of these details? You had mentioned you were working on it before, but it'll be a lot to decide. We may want to go out and look at different structures or that sort of thing. I'm not quite sure.
I will email it to you because it's easier for me. I'll just email it to you. I can email you Catherine's draft memo
Okay,
that has those in it. It'll be easier than me trying to recall all those tonight.
okay,
And it explains it a little bit more in detail.
okay.
Yep, I'll send that out to you tomorrow.
Do you think we agree with where they say a fence is needed?
I think so. There may be one location where they're recommending what they call it, screen wire, woven wire fencing. And we will probably recommend the black chain link fencing, maybe in one or two sections, but I think everything else, staff would probably agree with what they are planning on putting there. And then we would make that recommendation to you all as well. I think the other things are like the black strain poles versus mast arm, things like that. So that's in the memo, and we'll send that to you.
Okay.
Right now, I can tell you, I think the cost without the fencing that the town will be responsible for is probably what, right now, $160,000? Maybe a little higher. That's without the fencing. And the fencing is not cheap. It's about $25 a linear foot. So depends on how many feet of black chain link fencing you want. That's what we're looking at, is to try to get it in just the places where it really would be seen, so that we don't have 6,000 foot of black chain link fencing at $25 a foot, I think is what it is. The biggest expense I can tell you that we would be responsible for is our portion of the sidewalk, because the sidewalk basically runs from, is it all of Big Mill Farm Road? All of Big Mill Farm Road back up to Sutter Lane off of Hopkins Road. And we're responsible for 20% of that.
Curtis, what we're talking about in terms of fencing is fencing on the right and left margins of the Big Mill Farm Road itself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're not talking about anything that has to do with a bridge or a passageway or anything of that nature?
No, sir. It runs kind of down an angle off the bridge. And the woven wire fencing is the fencing. It's really hard to see most of the time from the interstate because it's set so far down, but it's just a round post in the ground, and it's got the kind of looks like chicken wire fencing across it. That's the woven wire, and that is what they typically use along those sections. And if it's far enough off the road to where you don't see it, or if it's going to have vegetation and things like that around it, then it's fine. But there's a couple of places where it would be right on the side of the road in heavy traffic areas. And so that's where we would probably recommend the black chain link fence. Where we're trying to kind of really narrow down the amount of that fencing that we recommend.
Okay, are there any other questions? All right, then that would take us to the consent agenda. Are there any matters you plan to present at the July 9 meeting?
There is one matter, and I'll probably just add it to the agenda. It is to declare some portable radios that we currently have in the fire department, fire rescue department, some of our old ones. There are 2 volunteer fire departments that would like to buy those. We're allowed by law to sell that to another volunteer department. I'll place that on the agenda for the board to, if they so choose, to adopt that resolution authorizing the sale of those radios.
Since you know of it tonight, why don't we go ahead and amend the agenda?
That's fine.
Okay, can I have a motion to amend the agenda to include the sale surplus of the radios?
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Apple, second by Alderman Barrow. All in favor? So if you can put both of those considerations.
And there is one more. Hold on. Did you need that one tonight, or? The other one is for tonight, so I'll bring it up in a minute.
Okay, all right. And Mr. Powell, is there anything you're planning to bring up July 9th that you know of at the moment?
I do not have a report, don't have anything to add to that.
Okay, all right, we'll go back to tonight's agenda then. That finishes the briefing on the July 9 meeting agenda. So we are to Curtis Fisher, the town manager's report, and miscellaneous.
The first item I have, Madam Mayor, is last month, I think it was last month, the board approved a resolution to apply for the Highway Safety Program grant through the North Carolina Governor's Program for the amount of it was in the amount, I think then of, was it 23,000? I think it was 23,000. It's actually $41,000 that we're applying for. So if the board could vote to make that change from 23, I think it was 23,000 to the 41,000, which is what the grant amount would be, we'll make that change on the grant application.
Okay, do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Penix, second by Alderman Apple. All in favor? It's unanimous.
And the other item I have, Madam Mayor, in the budget for Parks and Recreation, as you all are aware, we had several new employees included in the upcoming budget. The one employee that we missed is perhaps probably one of the most important. We didn't miss it. I had it in professional services, but it should have been in salaries and wages, and that is the custodian for the building. It was in professional services, not the full amount for that, so we may have to, at the end of the year, come back and do a budget amendment, but we think we can probably pick it up. We've got about 2/3 of the salaries and wages needed, so it's what we need since it was in professional services. When we started out, the reason it was in professional services, we were going to contract out the cleaning of the building. Ernie and I discussed it and said, hey, we can hire a custodian cheaper than we can contract it out. I just forgot to move the money over and request a position. So if you would, I would like to request that someone approve the position so that we'll have the position in the budget. Then I can move the money over that we have in it. I can move that money over once the budget period starts. But we need to go ahead and get the position approved so that we can fill the position. So otherwise, Ernie's going to have a dirty building sometime.
You know, that's a position that everyone appreciates and benefits from, the work that's done by the custodial staff. And I think that we found in the town of Kernersville, having town employees do the custodial services rather than contracting it out works very well, because there's a lot of relationships that develop and a lot of expertise and care that goes into the care for our buildings. So I think that is an excellent idea to hire that member as a member of our staff. So, all right, do I have a motion to approve that transfer of those funds? Yes,
I've got a question.
sure.
Are you talking about custodian for the whole project out there?
For
Just
the-
one person?
Yes, for the Parks and Rec building. Right now, it's one person. May come back and need two, but right now it's
Well,
one.
I was thinking that's a huge undertaking for one person.
Yeah, we're going to try it with one. And if we have to, we'll come back in with a part-time, but we utilize one down at Public Services. We have two here, one at Public Services, so we're going to see if we can do it with one at Parks and Rec. But we definitely need one. Right now, we have none.
Well, you know, public services and Parks and Rec there's a lot more activity.
Yeah.
I believe at Parks and Rec than
There is. And
public services.
now the thing, Ernie's got some folks that will be there, like when they're having league play and all of that part of their responsibility will be the gymnasium, making sure it's clean after it's over with and everything. So we're thinking with what they'll do along with what the custodian will do, we can probably make it work. But honestly, it's one of those things until we try it for a little while, we don't know.
Yeah.
So, but we definitely know we need one. That would be more than we got right now. And that was my fault. I wasn't thinking I had the money in there and you all approved the money. It's just in a different line item, but you didn't approve the actual position. So I couldn't fill it until and when the board approves it.
Well, I would like to move that we approve that position.
Got a motion by Alderman Penix, second by Alderman Apple. All in favor? It's unanimous.
Got one more bit of news that just came in. It appears as though starting in the next election in 2025, you all will be running in a primary and then a general election because your races are now partisan instead of nonpartisan as of about 6:30 tonight. The House bill passed that made the races in Kernersville, Louisville, Clemens, Walkertown, King, and Rule Hall made them partisan. Do what? Bethania. Yeah, everybody except for Bermuda Run, I think, is now partisan. So, not sure what that looks like, but obviously it should mean that if there are over 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats file, that there will be a primary, and same for the mayor's race, so. And it also looks like, I'm not 100% sure, but it also looks like Summerfield is minus about 1,000 acres. So that may or may not bode well down the road for other municipalities. If developers have an issue with boards not approving cases like they want them to be approved, I think they've set the precedent now where that developer can go in and ask to be de-annexed, and then you're out of luck. So it looks like it passed. I'm not 100% sure it shows that bill.
Second reading.
Yeah, it shows that bill passing on the second reading. And it passed the Senate, so it appears as though there was a concurrence on the second reading, and this is for the de-annexation, a concurrence on the second reading of 67 to 46 in the House. I don't know if they had to have a third reading, but my guess would be if it passed the second, it will pass the third as well. So, and I do not know what the vote was on the bill for partisan elections, but it did pass, according to an email that I just received from the League of Municipalities. So, end on a bit of good news. I don't have anything else.
Okay. All right. Matters to be presented by the mayor and board of aldermen. First, Ernie, could you come forward and talk about the 4th of July events in Kernersville? I saw that we recently posted a new flyer to our town website, so I think it deserves a mention tonight. Is your microphone on?
Yes, I believe so.
Perfect, thank you.
So, the beginning of the day would begin as it usually does with the 5K run parade. And then in the afternoon, we'll have the special occasions band at Kernersville Elementary School. And then at 9:15, we've pushed back the fireworks a little bit this year. At 9:15, we'll begin the fireworks display. So, that's pretty much it.
And then tell us a little bit more about the drone show that was held on Juneteenth.
So Juneteenth was this year a great success. I was pleased with, we made some changes. We pushed back the event later to the week, tried to get it on June 19th proper, but that was church night, so we decided to stay away from church. But it was a great success. We had probably about 300 to 400 people show up this year, which is way more than I expected. I expected an uptick in participation, but not that much. Great entertainment, great speaker, but the drone show, being the first triad drone show, was interesting process to go through. You give them these photos and your images of what you want, and then they create a storyboard, pretty much what you would see, like what you would imagine a commercial or movie go through. You have this whole storyboard, so they shoot you the storyboard and they animate it for you and send you an animation of it. And then if you approve that animation, then it goes by GPS coordinates. It gets programmed to each drone, and then they just push a button and it goes. So I watched the show on the slideshow storyboard, and I thought, wow, that's great. That's pretty impressive. But then seeing it in person is way more impressive than I anticipated. It's so much bigger, so much more animated than I ever thought I would see. And then it was really, it made me think a little bit of how can we incorporate some drones into the 4th of July. I thought it'd be kind of interesting way to do it. I will say the one thing that was missing was the grand finale, the big applause thing at the end. You see it go up, it goes in a plane, a flat plane. You see all these drones go up. It was, seeing it come out was pretty cool. But then when it's done, it's just done. It just goes back down. So you don't have a big, awe-astounding moment at the end. So I spoke to those guys, and how can we incorporate things together just to change it up a little bit? But it was impressive. It was an impressive show. It was.
I thought it was really interesting how the images changed color and then rotated.
Yeah,
and,
it went from the Juneteenth colors of red, green, and yellow to white, and then you know, and it flicker back and forth, and as they change shapes, they just like twinkling like stars. It's pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I guess I've got one matter. So the Kernersville Police Department has decided to have its National Night Out on a different night this year, is my understanding, to have it on a Friday night. And I had the calendar up, and then it kind of went away and just tells me the meeting date. So I think they're having it is it August 9th or August 2nd? August 2nd. Okay. Oh, can you come forward and tell us about it? If you don't mind. Invite everybody.
Hello, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Damian Merritz, captain at the Kernersville Police Department. And the event that we're going to have this year is National Night Out. It will be on August 2nd at Harmon Park. This year it's starting at 6 o'clock in the evening. We will be having a movie that evening. It's going to be Zootopia. We're also going to have the fire department participating with us. And we would love all of you to come down and see it. I think we're going to have some neat things planned. Still in the works. Some last minute changes, but we're rolling with the punches. And so come enjoy Zootopia, and hopefully we'll have popcorn. Fingers crossed. But anyway, we'd love for all of you guys and the community to come out and join us that evening. It's a fantastic evening for fellowship with your public servants, and also you guys. And you can even come too, Ed.
Ed will be there. Ed will be there. Ed will be there. Can you tell us a little bit more about the significance of National Night Out?
So National Night Out started, it's for law enforcement to interact with their communities. I believe it started in the early 1980s. It might be the late 70s, but I believe it's the early 80s. And what it is it's every year on August 2nd. This year happens to fall on a Friday, which is something it's just never done. So we decided to think about a different way of doing it. But it is to where we invite people to talk with all law enforcement officers. It's a country or a nationwide event that goes on. And it's just come and meet your local law enforcement and interact with communities. We don't want to make it a huge agenda. It's just we want people to come and meet the people that serve your community every day.
It's an awesome opportunity for people of Kernersville to talk to law enforcement officers, ask those questions, talk with the firefighters, ask about their smoke detector or their fire extinguisher, whatever fire safety question they have on their mind. I think that your plans this year are wonderful for including children and families. I think it'll be an awesome new tradition, an awesome event. So I'm very, very excited about it.
We're extremely excited about it. One of the things that we pride our department on is community engagement and community events. We love talking with the public. I have friends all across the country in law enforcement, especially several here in the state. And I tell them about our event that we have, and just having that moment to come up and just talk like just normal folks with our community is priceless. It really is. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I've been doing it a long time here in Kernersville, and you are exactly right, Madam Mayor. It is fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So in light of that, at the point in time we planned our schedule and kind of the framework for the entire year starting in October of last year. And at that point in time, the tradition was to have National Night Out the first Tuesday of August. So that is why the meeting in August was set for the 7th, which is a Wednesday. So I don't know if it would cause any impact that's detrimental to the planning cases or anything to move it back to Tuesday night. If the board would like to do that, I think we could probably make that calendar change if we wanted to. Town manager, what do you think?
I would defer to Catherine on the planning cases. I don't think it's any issue from our end.
So would you all like to change the calendar to meet on Tuesday, August 6th, instead of Wednesday, August 7th for the regular meeting. Would you like to change it? So it doesn't, does that put it back on your anniversary, Joe, if we move it? Okay, so we'd be safe. Could I have a motion to, how would I phrase it? Move, change?
I would just make a motion to move the meeting from August the 7th.
Okay,
to August
let's
the
have a
6th.
motion to amend the calendar for 2024 for Board of Aldermen meetings to move the August meeting from August 7th to August 6th.
I so move, Madam Mayor.
Okay, got a motion by Alderman Apple, second by Alderman Penix. All in favor? It's unanimous. Keith, if you could send an email out to everybody to remind them and to let the others know who are not here this evening. All right. And I am excited about Miss Mary's parade on Saturday. So everyone with small children or small grandchildren, it's a specially designed parade for children 6 and under. The Kernersville Kiwanis Club has been organizing it for the past several years. We are in the 41st or 42nd year, maybe even 43rd year of this parade. It is a wonderful tradition. All 3 of my children participated in it while they were young, and later they came back and helped with it as young adults. So it is a great tradition, great for grandchildren, children, very fast, quick event, but the Kiwanis have done a great job organizing it. This year, they are even bringing an ice cream truck. So the children get free ice cream, adults can buy ice cream, and if you get there early, the DAR is handing out flags, the H&R Block has t-shirts, the Kiwanis Club is bringing some books that they'll give away free to children who are there, so there's a lot of fun giveaways and fun activities. The Girl Scouts are there doing some activities with the children, and there will be photo spots for families. And if you noticed walking into Town Hall, it's beautifully decked out in red, white, and blue flowers, which is amazing. It looks really good and it looks really festive, and it'll be a very fun place this Saturday at 9:30 to have the Miss Mary's Parade. And if any of the aldermen would like to also join us, you can come. You don't have to bring a child. You can just come and cheer the small children on as they parade around. And the Rotary Club is coming with their 4th of July queen leading the parade, so it'll be a great event for families. And let's see, Mr. Penix, do you have anything to report tonight?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Apple.
Madam Mayor, I want to just express an individual opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of this board or of the mayor or anyone else. They certainly may speak for themselves. But I want to just express a concern that I have with the trend that we're seeing with the legislature attempting to, I will call it what it is, usurp the authority that has traditionally been held by the municipalities. I sort of feel like it's the municipality's business. I feel like it's Kernersville's business to decide whether we want to run on a partisan basis or just file as we have before. The mayor expressed it well, I think, in a conversation I had with her over the last few days, that 2 things. Number one is this board has extraordinary unity. We have worked together as a team. We work together. We're going to continue to work together as a team no matter what, based upon the issues that we decide based on the merits of those issues and what we sense to be the sentiment of the citizens and voters in our town. I frankly don't think it's any of the legislature's business whether we choose to run on a partisan basis or a nonpartisan basis. The second thing is that, as the mayor pointed out to me, and I had not thought about, it can get the local board involved in some issues that may divide our points of view based on national issues that don't really have anything to do, with decisions that we are involved in making. That to me is crazy, and I'm going to call it like it is. I could not more strongly disagree with the trend that the legislature seems to be taking in taking over decisions, even the Summerfield de-annexation. Those ought to be decisions that, in my personal view, ought to be made on a local basis, not on a legislative basis at the state level. Again, everybody has an opinion about things like that, but I want to go on record as being as strongly opposed as I know how to be for that trend, and I want to invite those who are listening to this tonight and those who are in the audience to contact your legislators, and it may be too late for these particular issues that came up that we learned about just a few minutes ago. But I think that they need to know how strongly you feel about it too. I think it's really important that we let them hear from us. It's a bad trend. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barrow.
Yeah, I'd just like to concur with what Bill said about that. The legislature forcing us to run by party again, I think that should be our choice, and I agree with you. And I think that we ought to draft up a letter and send it to them on our basis from our board. Tell them we don't appreciate what they did. We don't like it. Just to let them know where we're at. As far as what I got, of course, I want everybody to thank everybody for still working on the pool. Curtis still working on it, and we're going to make that happen. The sidewalk up West Mountain Street, what does that look like time-wise, Curtis? I think you had, the money was allocated for it?
They're in the design process right now, so they've been surveying for the past few weeks in preparation of creating the design package, and then we would go back to the MPO for funding.
Cool. And that new battery building they're putting on the corner there, that has sidewalks built into that plan, correct?
That's correct. They have to build their own sidewalks.
Good deal. Okay. Thank everybody for that. The other thing is, you're talking about the 4th of July celebration. The one we'll have this year will be the 93rd year that the town of Kernersville has the 4th of July celebration. It's a big deal. I think it's a big deal. 93 years. Anyhow, everybody enjoy the 4th. Thank you.
Thank you for that history, John. Did you want to add anything, Mr.
Can I
Penix?
add one thing?
Sure.
John, are you bringing that up because you've been to all of them?
No, that's funny that you say that. I'll tell you how I know that is because every now and then I'll go on eBay and I'll type in Kernersville and see what comes up for sale. And several years ago, this thing came up it was the 1932 Kernersville 4th of July celebration. It was 4 pages, and it was printed all up and said who did what and all of that. And I got that thing and looked at it, and that was the second one in 1932. Wow. And all of them got started that way back in. And what really surprised me, there was a man named John Barr that was in it and presented the recreational thing, which had been my grandfather. And I thought, that's interesting. Especially what my aunts used to, how they used to talk about him. Said all he wanted to do is sit around and play baseball. And I thought, well, he wasn't too bad. They put his name in that thing with the doctors and the lawyers and the business owners of Kernersville. But anyhow, that's how I know that, is because I've got the flyer for the second one, 1932. And of course, there were Penixes in there too, of course. And all making it happen, here in Kernersville.
I'd like to add one other thing. That's what makes, one of the things that makes Kernersville different from some of the larger cities. And today what the legislature did, I was not going to bring it up, but since the other 2 aldermen commented, that kind of shocked all of us. And I called a couple of our legislatures today to express my opinion. Didn't got voicemail. But that's what makes Kernersville different. That's one of the many things that we still have that makes and sets us apart from other cities, and I think it's terrible. I've been on this board for 6 terms. I've never had anybody ask me what party I belong to. And it was one thing that was different about Kernersville, having nonpartisan elections. You hear about politics all day, every day. And for Kernersville to have our nonpartisan elections taken away without our approval, I think it's big government. And I certainly, when I found out about it yesterday, I didn't appreciate it. And I don't believe anybody else did either. I think it's a bad precedent. That's my thought.
Okay, is there any further business before the board? Mr. Powell? Do we have any need of a closed session this evening?
Madam Mayor, we have no need for a closed session tonight.
All right. And there's no further business before this board, so may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Barrow, second by Alderman Apple. All in favor? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for joining us.